Portal is iconic. There's no other way to put it. Everyone who is into video games knows what Portal is, and even people who really aren't into video games probably know what it is. It came out in 2007, and I was 6 years old at the time, so obviously I didn't play it then, but my dad wasn't really into video games anymore, so didn't really get it from him. So, when I did get into video games, I never got it or played it. However, it was on sale about a year or two ago, so my brother got it, and he played through, but he used a guide because Peter's dumb and never picked it up again. I was intended to play it, but I didn't get to it until spring of last year. I'm incredibly glad that I played the game. It was one of the best games ever, in my opinion, and clearly showcases that quality matters a lot more than quantity, and that all aspects of the game can come together to make something amazing. Let's start with the gameplay, since it is the most iconic, unique, and generally the best part of the game. The gameplay in Portal is one of a kind. It centers around shooting portals that link to each other and create wormholes between them, basically, so how you would expect it to work. It's much harder to explain than it is to show. Pretty much everyone knows about the mechanic. It's probably the iconic thing about the game, but the gameplay doesn't stop there. If you didn't know, Portal is a puzzle game, so you are able to use these puzzles and their properties, use the portals and their properties to complete the puzzles. Puzzles are kind of backloaded. Almost half the game time will be spent completing the last 5 or so out of 19 levels. It isn't really a big deal since the whole game can be completed in 2 to 3 hours, so timing isn't really an issue. You just sort of go through. The game introduces concepts to the player relatively slowly, and there's ample time to get used to the various mechanics that the game uses. The last major mechanic is introduced at level 16, right before the last few levels. But I think really where this game shines is its use of quality over quantity. As I've already stated, you can complete this game in about 2 to 3 hours, and because it's a puzzle game, you will complete it faster if you play it again. It's not like an RPG or something like that. Normally, I almost never replay games because they're so long. It just takes too long. Undertale took me about 10 to 20 hours to complete, which is generally short in terms of gameplay hours. But it's not short enough for me to replay it because it's like I would have to, spend a lot of time on it. Part of the joy in replaying Portal is it takes less time each time. It only takes an afternoon to play Portal the first time. So if you play it 2 hours each day for a week, you would have played it 7 times, which is probably too many. Other games don't have the same ease of replayability. One of the reasons I'm not going to play through Undertale or Jedi Fallen Order again was it just took too long. I would have to basically play it for a whole month to get through it again. With Portal, I can spend less than a week on it and play through it 4 times. If I'm ever bored, I can play through all of Portal in an afternoon. I'm not going to start another game of Undertale if I'm bored because I would never come back to it. Now, most people think that a shorter game would be a bad thing because of, less content or something like that. If any game showcases this, it's Portal, that the quality of a game can matter a lot more than the sheer amount of content. I would rather play a really good 2-hour game than, a decent 50-hour game. And with the 2-hour games, I'm likely to play it again because it's so good, and I'm not intimidated by the amount of time I would have to put in to finish it again. But the gameplay is just overall, the gameplay is just top notch. This is a game that took Valve from sort of a one IP studio, Half-Life and the accelerated the mods, to a sort of a multiple IP studio, in my opinion, along with Team Fortress 2. Next, we have the rest: the story, dialogue, music, general feel of the game. The story and writing in Portal is stellar. They really figured out an idea and went with it, no holding back. It's basically an AI gone rogue story, which is very slow-rolled and done very well. If you went into the game completely blind, which is basically impossible due to the popularity of the game, you wouldn't really find out that the GLaDOS was evil until close to the end. Well, the game drops some major hints that something is wrong, and as a result, you're filled with unease and confusion about what is going on throughout the whole game, which complements the puzzle-focused gameplay pretty amazingly. They just click right in together. Contributing to this sense of unease is the music, which is almost entirely ambient, creepy sounds, aside from a few really good spots that are really cool. Think of the Minecraft cave noises until the final level. Basically all the music is like that. When you get to the final level, you finally find, like, GLaDOS is trying to kill you. The music gets super high intensity, but still uneasy. The final factor to this whole, feel of the game is the inherently creepy, dirty feel the Source Engine has, which kind of, I don't know, it's just sort of a thing that happened. It makes the test chambers feel like nobody's been in there in a while, which adds to the unease. And later, when you get into the inner facility, the dirtiness is increased and the suspense increases with it. Another cool thing about this game is that it takes place in the same universe as Half-Life, and as a result there are a bunch of references in the game to Black Mesa. This gives a bit of context to the situation of the world, but ironically, not enough to make you feel anything but uneasy. Another thing, Ellen McLean is the only voice actor, and she does an amazing job. I don't usually comment on voice actors because they're not outstanding. It's just, the game is good, the voice acting is also good. But without her performance, she drives the game. Without her performance, the villain would just not be as good, and the ending song wouldn't even exist. Quick note about the ending song. It's great, end of story, it's just a great song. It's kind of different than the rest of the game, which is why I sort of said separately. But all these aspects come together to create a great atmosphere that complements the gameplay very well. Without the great atmosphere and story, the game would just be a simple puzzle game. It would not be the classic it is today. So overall, Portal is one of the best video games ever made and still holds up to this day. I guess the graphics are a little outdated at this point, but it provides the sort of Source Engine uneasiness that is essential to the game. The gameplay is outstanding, and the Portal remains probably the best puzzle game of the day, perhaps only surpassed by its sequel, but I prefer the first one because of the length. The atmosphere and feel of the game are superior to many games that come out today, and the story is well written and presented. I give Portal a 0.999 out of 1. This may be my favorite game, and I don't have any nostalgic feelings about it. Some games I like because of nostalgia, but I never played Portal when I was younger. Therefore, I can say with confidence that Portal is one of the best games ever. It's not like, Civ 4 or Civ 3 or Lego games, some of those other games, which, I still think they're really good and they're my favorite games, but some of that feeling might be because of nostalgia. Portal, I played it recently, and I can say that it's just good. It's one of the best games ever. Now, about the second one, I'll talk more about this when I review the second one, but I think I like the first one better than the second one because of the length. The second one is a lot more difficult to play through because the second one has a lot more content. So, I talked about this earlier. With Portal, you can spend a week on it and get through it like 4 times. With Portal 2, you spend a week and you get through it like 2 times. And Half-Life and Half-Life 2 are like that as well, where you really do have to... The length of the game is such that you have to spend more than one sitting on it, as opposed to Portal, which you can finish in one sitting, pretty much, unless you suck at puzzles. So, yeah, but, I mean, I don't think you'd find anyone who'd say that Portal is bad, but a lot of people do think the second one is better, but I consider the first one better, so, yeah, fight me.